Gentleman yields. Chair now recognizes the gentleman, the ranking member of the entire committee from Maryland, Mr. Raskin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Jackson, guns are the leading cause of death for young people in America. Guns are, I learned from you, the leading cause of death for pregnant women in America. They are the leading cause of disabilities for newly disabled people. I learned from you. I know that the U.S. Has more firearms than people, and I know that, excuse me, I know that we've got a firearm homicide rate 25 times higher than other comparable wealthy countries. Now, I hear the argument that because our society is swimming in firearms, that people need more firearms to defend themselves. Of course, people have a constitutional right to purchase a handgun to defend themselves, right? Under the Heller versus District of Columbia case. Isn't that right?
Correct.
So people have that right. So it seems to me that the argument that is being advanced is a huge non sequitur. The claim is being made, pushing an open door, that people have a right to a gun to defend themselves if that's how they choose to defend themselves. And therefore, we shouldn't do anything else to try to limit the staggering amount of gun violence in society. Now, you're here to tell us that the Biden administration saw great success. Will you just give us what were the major elements of that success in reducing gun violence?
Right. I mean, just to build on your statement, I mean, if guns made us safer, we would definitely be the safest country in the world, considering how many firearms are in our communities. But we knew that gun violence is about more than just solving a crime. It's about preventing a health crisis. And so we looked at strategies to help victims heal, investing in the Crime Victims Fund and VOCA, investing in violence intervention programs and law enforcement crime intelligence strategies.
Okay, were any of those things struck down as violative of anybody's Second Amendment rights?
No.
Okay, so why isn't everybody celebrating across the aisle that we actually saved thousands of lives through the things the Biden administration did without violating anybody's Second Amendment rights?
It baffles me because I think we should all have the same goal of saving lives, and we now have a strategy that has been proven for 2 years in a row to save historic lives. And our cities are, frankly, I mean, Boston had an 82% reduction. I don't know how we can even debate
82% reduction in gun homicides.
Yes.
So, can you explain this to me? People have a right to a gun to defend themselves. Everybody agrees to that. You never challenged that, did you, in your office?
Correct.
Okay, and why is it that people are taking the position we shouldn't be doing anything to reduce gun violence other than selling more guns?
You know, I think, frankly, there's, the gun industry is big business. We talked about there being over, 20,000, 30,000, 25,000 FFLs. And frankly, that may not sound big to some folks, but that's enough to fill Madison Square Garden. And there's a lot of profit to be made in selling firearms, but we've seen firsthand that that's not how we prevent violence.
Yeah.
Guns don't make us safe. Preventing violence is what makes us safe, and that's what we proved that has worked.
So the whole point of the social contract, if you read John Locke or Hobbes or Rousseau, anybody who wrote about the social contract, is we'll be safer coming together with laws than we would be if we were just in a state of war, a state of violence. Right. Against each other. So if we're talking about how to promote self-defense, aren't the laws that you're talking about themselves instruments of self-defense and community safety?
Correct. I mean, I think we should always focus on preventing a conflict in the first place. I mean, we talked a little about stand your ground laws here today, but I'll be up front with you. If I tried to stand my ground when I was shot, I'd be dead. Because evading is the number one way to move.
What about, there's so many of these spectacular mass gun shootings at schools and Walmarts and so on, where there were armed guards around, right?
Right.
And there are lots of cases where they just go right through the guards.
And we think about Uvalde, where we had hundreds of law enforcement, where we had Buffalo where armed folks engaged the shooter and lost. And we have to realize that the way that we can truly save lives is preventing someone from walking onto a campus or approaching senior citizens in a grocery store in the first place.
Thank you. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Gentleman yields. Chair now recognizes the gentleman from California, Mr. Kiley.